Breaking news, man. They have found Derrick Groves, man. What the fuck? Man, look, man, in Atlanta. ATL, Saudi. They got D. Groves, y'all.
Groves was actually inside of that house.
Hold on.
We don't
Hold
know
up.
what
Hold up.
for that location.
Hold
We
up.
don't know how long they've been keeping an eye on that situation, but if you'll remember, what you're seeing on your screen right now is when those 10 inmates escaped out of Orleans Justice Center. We do have some new video that we're going to show you in just a moment of the location in Atlanta, the house in the southwest part of town where Derrick Groves apparently was holed up. We don't know for how long. We don't know how long law enforcement has had their eyes on that location and how long they've been waiting to go in. Could have been a tip this morning, could have been a tip 2 weeks ago. Those are details that we're hoping to get as we continue to follow this very urgent breaking news situation this afternoon. So again, if you're just joining us, what we know is that inmate Derrick Groves, one of the 10 escapees from the Orleans Justice Center earlier this year, has been taken back into custody in southwest Atlanta. There was a lot of questions after this happened about whether or not he had crossed state lines, whether or not he had gone to Texas. Many people in Louisiana have ties to both Houston area, Texas, and the Atlanta area. A lot of that because of how people have migrated since Hurricane Katrina. But lots of people have those connections. There were a lot of questions about whether or not those areas would be where we would find Derrick Groves hiding. And what we know now is that law enforcement agencies from law enforcement sources are telling us that he was taken into custody in southwest Atlanta this afternoon. We first began hearing about this morning, rumblings that law enforcement may have been working on a tip. And you'll recall that over the last several months, law enforcement both here in New Orleans, in Texas, in different states have responded to tips that they received that some of these inmates had been hiding in those locations. A lot of times it would end up being a false alarm. In this case, that was not the situation. Derrick Groves apparently holed up in the house in southwest Atlanta. A huge law enforcement effort is what it took in order to capture him. He's been on the run since this happened, which has been several weeks now. I mean, it's been months since the Orleans Justice Center escape. This obviously, breaking news as we have a sheriff's election coming up on Saturday. So very interesting timing and how this is all unfolding. Back when this happened, there were a lot of questions about whether or not the Orleans Justice Center was fully staffed, whether or not they had adequate security. Since then, some improvements have been made to the Orleans Justice Center in order to secure it. But we did hear just last week that there was another escape attempt that had been thwarted at the jail. So, it's obviously a jailer's biggest burden or task or job.
Look like Derrick Groves finna die in that prison, man. Yeah, D. Groves fucked up. And, hold on, man. This the house and shit right here. They swamped that motherfucker. Hold on, y'all.
There were some questions about whether or not he was in Houston or whether or not he was in Atlanta. And right now, let's take a look at this. This is a live picture from the scene. You can see heavily armed law enforcement officers, suited up in full regalia, full SWAT gear with cameras on their helmets. They're fully armed. And this is in that neighborhood in southwest Atlanta, where we now know that Derrick Groves was taken back into custody. So this is a live picture from the scene at this hour. Lots of law enforcement sources. You can see a police vest there. That's an indication that possibly Atlanta police are involved in this operation. We know that the U.S. Marshal's Office is likely involved in this situation, given that they have been the ones who've been leading the search for Derrick Groves. That is a SWAT vehicle that you can see right there. That's now.
Hey, man. The people ain't playing. They found that boy. And, hold on. Here go D. Groves in the back of the police car, y'all.
I believe that could possibly be him being taken away from the scene there. We're going to slow down the video just to kind of give you a look. And we've seen the mugshot that we've been using of Derrick Groves, and it could be, possibly.
Yes.
We're still waiting on law enforcement officials to confirm that, of course, is in fact him. Of course, 5 months ago when this all happened, you even had the district attorney, Jason Williams, come out and say that he was personally afraid of Derrick Groves being on the loose because he tried this case tried those murder cases along with a couple of other.
Hey, man. They showed where they had Derrick Groves in the back of the police car. Hey, man. They say, listen what this nigga had to say. He said if anybody was involved, hold on.
On your screen, Jason Williams getting ready to speak. That's the Orleans Parish DA surrounded by other law enforcement agencies. Again, to talk about a business on Burgundy Street in the French Quarter that has been shut down, allegedly as a hub of illegal activity. So we're waiting to hear from them in just moments as he talks about that. And of course, we're planning on asking them about the recapture of Derrick Groves. So let's listen in.
Details on the ground, because obviously I was not there, but we have confirmed that escaped inmate Derrick Groves was captured in Atlanta, Georgia, following a standoff in southwest Atlanta. After nearly 5 months on the run after escape from the Orleans Parish Justice Center on May 16th. I think across the board, whether you are a reporter or whether you were in law enforcement or whether you lived in the neighborhood where he wreaked havoc, or whether you were a witness who was brave enough to come forward and testify against him, everybody is sighing a collective sigh of relief, knowing that a person who was facing multiple life sentences, crimes that he was already convicted of, and the other crimes that he committed.
Can you talk about the partnerships that led to today's arrest?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you've got the Atlanta Police Department heavily involved, working very closely with Brian Fair and the U.S. Marshal Service. The U.S. Marshal Service has just really gone above and beyond when we have multi-jurisdictional issues. There have been a number of cases in which they've weighed in quite heavily, working with the NOPD and all of our federal and state and local partners and Troop NOLA to try to find him when he was here. Obviously, they had a bit of a lead time in when that was reported to law enforcement partners and the press, and he was able to make good as his...
Lights, camera, angels. The Victoria's Secret fashion show returns.
Thing a number of times.
That's like this here, man. They done caught Derrick Groves. You know, they say anybody that was involved, they coming. So, damn. I'm going to get at y'all later.